there are wealthy families, and then there are families whose names become part of history itself. For more than 200 years, the Rothschild name has been connected to banking power, government financing, war, political influence, and some of the biggest conspiracy theories ever created. Some people believe they helped shape modern finance. Others believe they secretly controlled the world from behind the scenes. But the real story is far more interesting than internet myths. Because the rise of the Rothschild family wasn't built through armies or royal bloodlines. It was built through information, trust, and one of the smartest financial networks Europe had ever seen. And it all began inside one of the poorest Jewish ghettos in 18th century Germany. To understand the Rothschilds, you first have to understand the world they were born into. In hundreds, Jewish families across Europe faced heavy discrimination and several restrictions. They were forced to live inside overcrowded ghettos where opportunities were limited and social mobility was almost impossible. Inside Frankfurt, a narrow and crowded Jewish district, Mayor Amschel Rothschild was born in 1744. Nothing but about his early life suggested that his family would one day become one of the most powerful banking dynasties in history. His family lived in difficult conditions, surrounded by cramped homes, narrow streets, and constant economic pressure. But Mayer was intelligent, observant, and deeply interested in trade and finance from a young age. He began working with coins, rare collectibles, and small financial transactions. To most people, it probably looked like a modest business, but Mayer understood something that would later define the entire Rothschild empire. Money wasn't just about gold. Real financial power came from relationships, trust, and information. And that understanding changed everything. As Mayer's reputation grew, he built relationships with wealthy aristocrats and powerful German families. One of his most powerful connections came William IV, one of the richest rulers in Europe at the time. Managing money for powerful people opened doors that had long been closed for Jewish families. But Mayer's biggest achievement wasn't simply booming wealthy. It was the strategy he created for the future. Instead of building a local banking business, Mayer sent each of his 5 sons to major financial cities across Europe. Nathan moved to London, James went to Paris, Solomon established operations in Vienna, Karl moved to Naples, and Amschel remained in Frankfurt. Today, international business networks are normal, but in the early 1800s, strategy was revolutionary. The Rothschild brothers stayed connected through private couriers, coded letters, and constant communication between countries. And during a time when information traveled incredibly slowly, that network became one of their greatest advantages. In many ways, the family created an international financial system decades ahead of its time. As the Rothschild network expanded, Europe entered one of the most chaotic periods in modern history. The Napoleonic Wars transformed the continent. Governments desperately needed money to finance armies, buy weapons, and stabilize collapsing economies. This created enormous opportunities for banking families capable of handling massive international financial transactions. The Rothschilds became exceptionally skilled at this, especially Nathan Rothschild in London. Nathan helped coordinate large financial transfers for the British government during its war against Napoleon Bonaparte. But the family's greatest advantage wasn't just wealth, it was speed. The Rothschild network developed one of the fastest private communication systems in Europe. Couriers carried information between countries faster than any governments could react. And in finance, receiving information first can change everything. One of the most famous stories connected to the family involves the Battle of Waterloo. According to popular legend, Nathan Rothschild learned about Napoleon's defeat before the British government and used that information to manipulate the stock market for enormous profit. It's a dramatic story, but historians have challenged many parts of this narrative, and several versions are widely considered exaggerated or false. There is evidence that the Rothschilds benefited from superior information networks, but the idea that they secretly controlled entire governments through one stock market trick belongs to more to myth than verified history. And this distinction matters because the Rothschild story has often been distorted by conspiracy theories over the years. By the mid 1800s, the Rothschild family had become one of the most influential banking dynasties in Europe. Their business expanded far beyond traditional banking. They financed railroads connecting European cities, supported mining operations, funding infrastructure projects, and helped governments raise enormous amounts of capital. As Europe industrialized, demand for money exploded. Railroads needed investment, governments depended on international loans, industry required financial banking to expand, and the Rothschild network positioned itself directly at the center of this transformation. What made the family especially powerful was their ability to operate across multiple countries. While many banks remained local, while the Rothschild built an international financial structure decades ahead of its time. They diversified across industries, strong international partnerships, and reduced risk by spreading investments across different regions. Today, those ideas sound normal, but during the 1800s, they were incredibly advanced. Over time, the Rothschild name became banking and financial influence across Europe.